Well, it wasn't for me after all. It looked like it was going to be, but it's not. Okay. All right, I'll continue here. And to confirm Karen Lewis Smith, who? Environmental reporter. Oh, okay. Advances in audio technology have enabled scientists to discover that ants routinely talk to each other in their nests. Talking about current human events, know who Solomon was, etc. Yeah. Talking about current human events, know who Solomon was, etc. Really, that I've got to hear for myself. You really got my curiosity up here. Most ants have a natural washboard and plectrum built into their abdomens that they can rub together to communicate using sound. So, using miniaturized microphones and speakers that can be inserted unobtrusively into nests, researchers established that the queens can issue instructions to their workers. Such instructions as, the astonished researchers who managed to make the first recordings of queen ants, quote, speaking, unquote. Notice that it's in quotes. In other words, they're really not speaking. Also discovered that other insects can mimic the ants to make them slaves. Right, like that butterfly. Yeah. And this means ants are smart enough to know who Solomon and his troops are, and the threat their huge human feet pose to them, huh? Rebel's large blue butterfly is one of about 10,000 creatures that have parasitic relationship with ants and has now been found to have learned to imitate the sounds as well as using chemical signals. Chemical signals? Well, even if it's sound, speaking, so? The butterfly's caterpillars are carried by ants into the nests where they beg for food and are fed by the workers. Right, right. Where they are so stupid that they don't know they are not ants. And yet Quran Surah 27 says ants are smart enough to know who Solomon and his troops were, and the threat their huge feet pose to them, huh? When the colony is disturbed, the ants will rescue the caterpillars before their own broods. Right. For they're so stupid they don't know they are not ants. And yet Quran Surah 27 says ants are smart enough to know who Solomon and his troops were, and the threat their huge feet pose to them. Right? True? Research several decades ago had shown that ants were able to make alarm calls using sounds. And a rattlesnake will rattle and make sound with its tail to make an alarm. So your point is, But only now has it been shown that their vocabulary may be much bigger and that they can talk to each other. Well, if one of those sheikhs or odors can spell out the word Solomon, and another can spell out the word crush, and another can spell out soldiers and dwelling places, well, hey, it would have to be bigger, huh? Much bigger. Professor Jeremy Thomas, who? Of the University of Oxford said, improvements in technology had made the discoveries possible because it meant the ants could be recorded and subjected to playbacks without becoming alarmed. By placing miniature speakers into the nest and playing back sounds made by a queen, the researchers were able to persuade ants to stand to attention. Did they salute as well? Quote, when we played the queen sounds, they did an on-guard behavior. An on-guard behavior. Did you know that if a rattlesnake starts rattling its rattle, a cow or horse will stand at attention by quickly backing away? They would stand motionless with their antenna held out and their jaws apart for hours. The moment anyone goes near, they will attack. So, they'll even confuse a machine with a queen. Okay, and yet Quran Surah 27 says ants are smart enough to know who Solomon and his troops were, and the threat their huge feet posed to them. Huh. Well, where are the commands of the queen ant to do anything else besides getting ready to attack intruders? And if they are, how would the queen know the ant hill was about to be invaded to make such a command? Is she watching ants TV coming in on an antenna or antennas for the TV? How would she know? Methinks Professor Jeremy Thomas got a lot of Saudi petrodollars as well. Professor Jeremy Thomas got paid too, you ask? If he's trying to say things Muslims agree with, like talking ants and embryos and things like that, being blood clots, it seems so. How could it not? So every time I bring a scientific a scientist who proves Quran is true, you'll say he got paid by Saudi? No. But if he says we as embryos go through a blood clot stage, or says ants have the knowledge of who Solomon was, then yes, I'd say he was paid by Muslims. And so far, notice he never gave examples of what Muhammad was accurate about. He just said he was accurate, and without any evidence. That makes me think he sold out to the terrorists, Islam. Again, where are those accuracies of Muhammad? Saying ants communicate means nothing to me. You provide evidence of how ants know current human events, and who Solomon was and all that, like the Quran infers, and we'll be getting somewhere with the notion of Muhammad, and his Quran being scientifically accurate. I mean, really, we will. You are just a loser who believes God transformed into a human and he got raped by his own creation, and as I said, I'm not surprised at all. Again, where are those accuracies of Mo being scientific like these university guys say? Or, saying ants communicate means nothing. I mean, I know that they communicate, I know ants communicate. They're in their own kind of ant ways and smells and stuff, but, you provide evidence of how ants know current human events, like the Quran infers, and we'll be getting somewhere with the notion of Mo and his Quran being scientifically accurate. Okay, that's what is... Listen, what your corrupted book says about ants. This is Proverbs 6:6-8. Ants have no commander, no ruler, no overseer. This is just shit. Listen what... Well, I tell you what. The Bible is accurate. For they don't have a commander, a ruler, nor an overseer. They have a queen they attend to because it's in their DNA to keep the anthill alive by taking care of her. Not what she says or oversees or commands. The Bible is right on. And you must ask forgiveness for not believing in God's word and instead saying it's shit. Because one thing, Quran 4, 136, 150, 151, 152, 2, 285, and 40, 72 tell Muslims to believe in all the books of Allah. Make no distinction between all those books. And as far as I can tell, Proverbs is a part of the before scriptures. Continuing. Ants and Quran. Professor Thomas said it remained unclear how much the ants relied on sound for language, but he suspected that further analysis would reveal a wide vocabulary than had just been seen yet. I wonder what the word ant for Solomon is. I wonder what the ant word for Solomon is. But the most important discovery is that within the ant colony, different sounds can provoke different reactions. He said, right, and it's in their DNA, I'm sure of it. But I would be very surprised if he didn't get different types of sound. It's within the power of the ant to play different tunes by changing the rhythm with which they rub. Unquote. And if they rub a certain way, they will know it's talking about King Solomon and his troops. He added that the detection of the role of sounds provided, quote, the final piece of the jigsaw to explain how rebels, large blue caterpillars, survive in ants' nests and should help to guide conservationists in trying to save the endangered European mountain species. What's that have to do with ants knowing who Solomon was? Francesca Barbero, who? Of the University of Turin, said, quote, our new work shows that the role of sound in information exchange within ant colonies has been greatly underestimated. If they have words for, quote, Solomon and troops and dwelling places and parish, well, you think? Karsten Schonrock, who? Of the Center for Ecology and Hydrology at Oxfordshire, said that mimicry by caterpillars was so convincing that the ants afforded them higher status than their own young. Really? And yet ants are smart enough to know who Solomon was and the existential threat he and his unseen soldiers posed to them? Really? They will even slaughter their own young to feed their interlopers when food is scarce. And that means they're smart enough to know. That means they're smart enough to be up on the on human current events, knowing who Solomon was. How? So far, all you proved is that Proverbs 6:6-7 is true about ants not having commanders, rulers, and overseers. I say, obey Quran 1094, O Muslim, and come to me for my reading of the before scriptures before it's too late for thee. And you know something? I better quit it here. Bye.